Today, we'll discuss why being kind to yourself is not just a feel good practice, but a pivotal strategy for achieving success. Welcome to Success Reimagined. I am Dr. Amna Shabbir, your host on this journey to thrive at the intersection of ambition and wellness. In every episode, I'll help you challenge outdated definitions of success, discover practical tools and strategies for growth without compromising your well being. I am so glad you've joined me. Let's reimagine what's possible together. Hi, and welcome back. Today, we're diving into something that's often overlooked in the journey to success: self compassion. Can you look back and think of any mentor, teacher, somebody around you who actually reminded you and modeled to you that you should be kind to yourself and that you should stop criticizing yourself? If there was somebody, congratulations, you are in the minority of people who had that exposure. And if you are, like most of us, general high achievers, I don't think this was modeled to you that you should be kind to yourself, and that's actually going to make you successful. Today, I'm going to go into depth with understanding what is self compassion, what is the neuroscience behind self compassion, linking it to success and better mental health outcomes, and how you can actually start practicing it today. And I know that if you're listening to this, you are likely your own harshest critic. I know because I am. That's the truth. In fact, self compassion is one of the most powerful strategies for growth, resilience, and achieving our goals, but nobody talks about it. Nobody promotes it. And when they do, they make it sound like it's a soft skill, it's a nice to have, but it's not a necessary thing for success. I say that this is a necessary element to add to your toolkit. So, what is self compassion? I like to go by the definition that Dr. Kristen Neff shares, who is one of the lead researchers in self compassion. In fact, her book titled Self Compassion is something I highly encourage you to read. She talks about self compassion having three components: the first, self kindness; the second, common humanity; and the third, mindfulness. So, what is self kindness? It sounds pretty understandable: treating yourself with care instead of criticism when things go wrong. The second component, common humanity, is recognizing that everyone makes mistakes. It's part of being human. Now, this does not mean that we compare our mistakes or compare our suffering to another human beings. This is the recognition that this is a common human experience. We are all on our journeys of different things that we're dealing with in life, right? And the third is mindfulness, acknowledging your feelings without ignoring or exaggerating them. Think of it this way: if you wouldn't say something harsh to a friend, why would you say it to yourself? That's a very objective question, right? And so mindfulness allows us to look at the facts and allows us to examine those situations without over identifying with either the positive or the negative. Now let's look at the neuroscience of self compassion. When we practice self compassion, we engage specific areas of our brain that are crucial for emotional regulation and decision making. The first is the prefrontal cortex. This region is responsible for executive functions, planning, and impulse control. Regular self compassion practices can strengthen neural pathways here. It enhances our ability to manage stress and make thoughtful decisions. The second is amygdala. Amygdala is commonly known as the brain's alarm system. The amygdala triggers our fight or flight response. Self-compassion has been shown to reduce amygdala activation, leading to decreased anxiety and a calmer state of mind. And the third part of the brain is the anterior cingulate cortex, the ACC. It plays a role in emotional regulation and empathy. When you engage in self-compassion, you can increase activity in this area, and that fosters greater emotional resilience. So when you nurture these parts of the brain, the good ones and then away from the alarming ones, self-compassion allows us to do that, and it, as a consequence, improves our mental health. It equips us to face challenges more effectively. If you're still wondering how does self-compassion directly translate into success, let's look at the reverse instead. So when you're harsh on yourself, when we're all like that, we actually sap ourselves from motivation. Because when you're beating yourself up by this criticism and this constant beration that you're doing, you want yourself to achieve this external goal, but you're not internally motivated. you're just literally beating yourself up to go and achieve something. And that doesn't last, right? When we are hard on ourselves and we set goals such as, let's take the example of exercise, it doesn't work. However, studies have shown that people that are self-compassionate, they're more intrinsically motivated to actually make healthier life choices. That motivation is coming from the inside. It's not something that you're imposing on yourself by berating yourself. It's something that's coming from a space of love and compassion innerly. Self-compassion also, again, boosts your growth mindset because it encourages it. Because when you are self-compassionate, instead of seeing your failures as finite failures, you will see them as stepping stones. You won't be afraid to take risks. We have all been there. I know you can relate with this. Have you ever been so scared of making a mistake that you didn't even want to try? Self-compassion helps break that cycle. By being kind to ourselves, we're more willing to take on challenges and innovate because when we fail, we're not going to beat ourselves up. Instead, we're going to give ourselves the gentle love that we need. And when you add the other components along that make up self-compassion, which is mindfulness, you're going to be able to look at the situation with clarity. When you also add in the component of common humanity, you're going to be able to look at this failure as a recognition of the human condition that many humans on their individual journeys are bonded together in these shared experiences of failure, of making mistakes, of falling short. It allows you to calm down those narratives and ask yourself, what is the next best step that I can take in this specific situation? So how can you bring self-compassion into your life? Here are some simple actionable steps that you can start taking right away. I'm going to talk about 3 things. The first is journaling. Self-compassionate journaling. Write yourself a kind note after a tough day. Focus on what you've learned instead of what went wrong. And it's just that small shift where instead of hyper-focusing on all your faults, on every shortcoming, you try to look at things in a more objective light. The second is mindfulness. Mindfulness meditation, spending 5 minutes just noticing your thoughts without judgment. And this helps you become more aware of your inner critic. And the third is positive self-talk. And now when I say positive self-talk, for some people, it seems like such a stretch. If I am being so hard on myself right now, I cannot just go from beating myself up to suddenly loving myself. So sometimes you need to have a happy medium. And one of the most powerful exercises that, again, I read in the book Self-Compassion was something called the loving friend view. So imagine someone you really love. Now, they do something wrong. How would you talk to them? Now put yourself in their shoes. So you have done something wrong. How are you going to talk to yourself? Now, when you compare these two, it allows for introspection that if my loved one went through some issue and they are being hard on themselves, this is what I would tell them. But I am struggling to say those things to myself. Even if this practice in the start is very uncomfortable for you, as it was extremely uncomfortable for me, I just had a really hard time accepting or recognizing that, it gradually opens the door for you to start being more accepting that maybe I can just treat myself with half the decency that I treat the other humans in my life. I hope by now you see that self-compassion isn't just about being nice, it is actually a proven strategy for success. And when you start to quiet down your inner critic and you start being kinder to yourself, you're only going to improve your confidence, your relationship with yourself, and you're not going to be afraid to take risks and go do the amazing, bold, beautiful things that you were intended to do on this earth to truly lean into your success. Remember, success starts with how we treat ourselves. Be kind to yourself. You deserve it. You might believe you don't have the time or energy to focus on yourself, but this is exactly the right time to get serious about your well-being. You don't have to do it all alone. I'm here to help. If you enjoyed this video and are ready to take the next step, head over to dramnashabir.com where you'll find free resources you can access right away. The website link is below. Let's get started on your path to thriving.